All right, so in this video, we're going to look at the capital asset pricing model and how to find the required rate of return on a firm's stock using the capital asset pricing model. So let's take a look at our problem. If the quoted risk-free rate is 4%, the market risk premium is 5%, and a firm's beta is 1.75, what is the required rate of return for the firm according to the capital asset pricing model? If additional amounts of this firm's stock were added to a diversified market portfolio, would the firm's stock increase or decrease the risk of the portfolio? What is the expected rate of return on the market? So we've got a few different questions here. First question is, what is the required rate of return for the firm according to the capital asset pricing model? Second question is, what would adding that stock or more of that stock to a diversified market portfolio do to the risk of the portfolio? And the third question is, what is the expected rate of return on the market? So we know that our Capm formula is Ki is equal to KRF, the nominal risk-free rate, plus Km, the rate of return on the market, minus KRF, times the beta of the stock. So if that's our formula, we just need to start putting in some pieces to find the required rate of return for the firm, which is the Ki. So if we put in some pieces here, Ki is going to be equal to KRF, which is the risk-free rate, and that is 4%, plus, now we need Km minus KRF. The problem doesn't actually give us Km, but it does give us this market risk premium. So let's think about that for a moment. You would expect that because the market is more risky than something which is risk-free, that the market should have a rate of return which is in excess of the risk-free rate. So it should have some additional amount of expected return. So if I take the return on the market minus the risk-free rate, that's telling me the amount of extra return that an investor would expect to get by investing in the market relative to what he could have earned by investing in something risk-free. And that amount of extra return the investor is getting is the market risk premium, because that extra return is due to the fact that he is taking on risk when the investor invests in the market. So this Km minus KRF is the market risk premium, which the problem has helpfully provided. So everything here within the parentheses actually works out to 5%. And then the beta for the firm is specified to be 1.75. So at this point, what you should do is pause the video and work out this equation to find out what the expected rate of return or required rate of return for the firm is according to the capital asset pricing model. Okay, so if you pause the video and work that out, what you should have gotten is a rate of return of 12.75%. So the required rate of return for the firm, according to the capital asset pricing model, is 12.75%. Now, one little note is worth making here, and that is, note that I use the numbers here in percentage format. You can do that with this formula as long as you are consistent with using them in percentage format for each of these three numbers, the KRF, the Km, and then of course the KRF that shows up here. The other way to do this would be to put these in decimal form. So if you wanted to put them in decimal form, you would have used 0.04 here and 0.05 here, and then you would have solved the problem, and what you would have gotten as a solution is 0.1275, which you then could have converted to percentage format. So you can use either the decimal representation of the percentages or the percentage representation as long as you are consistent throughout this problem. But we've solved the first part, and that is that the required rate of return for the firm according to the capital asset pricing model is 12.75%. So we now know that. The next question is, if additional amounts of this firm's stock were added to a diversified market portfolio, would the firm's stock increase or decrease the risk of the portfolio? Well, to see this, let's think about what this means by the market portfolio. So if I have invested in the market as a whole and I have a market portfolio, the beta of a market portfolio is going to be 1, because beta is measuring how the portfolio moves or investment moves relative to the market. And if I've invested in the market, my portfolio will move with the market. So beta would be 1 for a market portfolio. The beta for this stock, however, is 1.75. This means that when the market goes up, we would expect that this stock would typically go up by more, but when the market goes down, we would typically expect the stock to go down by more. So we expect it to be more volatile than the market as a whole. So in that case, we can evaluate the fact that this beta for the stock is 1.75. The beta for my diversified market portfolio would be 1. So if I added additional amounts of this firm's stock to my portfolio, I would expect it to increase the risk of the portfolio. Now, the next question is, what is the expected rate of return on the market? Well, the way to find the expected rate of return on the market is to simply refer to the fact that the market rate is going to be equal to the risk-free rate plus the risk premium of the market. Well, we know that the risk-free rate is 4%, and the problem stipulates that the market risk premium is 5%. So that means that the market rate we would expect should be 9%. So the market rate, or expected rate of return on the market, is 9%. Now let's return to this question a moment ago of if additional amounts of this firm's stock were added to a diversified market portfolio, would the firm's stock increase or decrease the risk of the portfolio? We concluded that it would increase the risk of the portfolio. So if it increases the risk of the portfolio, you should require a higher level of return compared to the market. And notice we are requiring 12.75% return for the stock, but we were requiring 9% rate of return on the market. So in that case, because adding this stock to the diversified portfolio would increase the risk of the portfolio, we require a higher rate of return on this stock compared to the market. And that is how you can solve problems involving the capital asset pricing model. At this point, I recommend that you try a few other examples and see how you do.